Right, hold on. Be careful what you say, people. We're live now. We should be live.
Michael Gray. I remember his father, Lord Delphon, who was the chairman of First
Don't get
Leisure,
us sued. Don't get us sued, Rodders, for God's sake.
Yeah. Do you want to push the ratings up?
Aye. Right. Yes. Okay.
Look. Alternatively, Ollie, if you want ratings through scandal, replace me with Prince Andrew.
No! Have you seen that bloke? Now that guy needs some media training. You are a star, but that bloody Prince Andrew is useless. What a boring old git. Anyway, look,
he's thick.
Yeah, he's thick as all that. Hey YouTube, okay, coming up in 20 minutes time. 20 minutes time. This is a test, just quickly, just to see if the tech's going to work for a change. But we're actually coming in 20 minutes time. Let's see if I can show you my co-conspirators. Let me see if I can show you my co-conspirators. Can you see them? Hold on. Yeah.
I watched the Darkest
Yeah.
Hour on Netflix the other night. Is it called The Darkest Hour or the long
Churchill?
It's that one with Gary Oldman playing Churchill.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
That was brilliant.
It was really good.
That was great.
He wasn't a sort of a dead ringer for Churchill, but his manner was. I mean, I think of all the people that have played Churchill in recent films, I think Gary Oldman probably got him down the best. I love that bit when his secretary's taking notes outside the bathroom and he says, "I'm coming out in a state of nature."
Yeah.
He's coming out in the new. Right.
Yeah, basically, his old boy swinging, and she sort of legs it down the stairs.
So that's old Piers. That's old Piers. Viscount, are you there?
Yes. Now, very quickly, Ollie, I'm on Zoom at the moment. Do I shut that down and go to YouTube, or go to YouTube as well?
You need both open. Both, yeah. You don't actually. Well, yeah, you need Zoom open because that's the way it's like Skype, people. That's the way we communicate. But then you also need the YouTube thing so that you can see what people are saying and, in the comments and what have you. So it's a good idea to open up youtube.com/Daily Brexit. Even though it's actually Daily Chaos, and I just haven't changed the title, the channel thing at YouTube yet. I suppose I'll get there eventually.
Hang on. So I've got YouTube. Hang on. So Daily Brexit. That opens up that one there.
We're doing a test, people. Coming up in 15 minutes, give or take.
Okay.
Just sorting out the tech because I've had so many problems with the tech. And as you can see, I've got Piers looks great. You see, I've got his shot, but Rodders, let me see your chivvy again. What did you have for dinner?
Here we go.
Yeah, why can I only see part
he
of
had
your
roast
head?
guinea fowl for dinner, didn't he? Because that's what Viscounts eat.
Actually, we had smoked koala.
Smoked koala. So it's an endangered species now.
They are now.
Rodders, you need to get a bit further away from your camera,
okay,
so that we can see you. And tilt. You're watching a laptop or something, aren't you? You got a laptop. Tilt. There you go. Yeah, we can almost see the fact that you look as though you just came out of old chink. Or whatever it is. Oh,
It was a while ago.
Yeah. Right. We're going to test that.
What is it that koalas eat? Eucalyptus, isn't it?
Yes.
Eucalyptus exclusively.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently so.
I think Prince Andrew only eats eucalyptus as well. I think probably Charles only eats eucalyptus as well.
I hate to think. They probably eat little babies. Right. Okay. Coming up, Libel Central in about 16 minutes. And so see you then, people. God bless you on YouTube.
Ollie,
I've just got to
turn your camera on the Zoom because I can't pick it up on.
I can't do that because the camera's doing something else to basically so that I can put the show out.
Oh, great. That's not a great defense.
No, probably not. I'll tell you what, one other test I should do quickly is make sure that we got some, I don't know, make sure we got some audio. Can you hear this? Can you hear this, people?
He impeached for soliciting or coercing a foreign power for helping the election.
Yeah.
Russians!
He believes his re-election is in the national interest.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so is the US election in the national interest? They're asking on NBC or ABC or whatever. Or should we just stop having elections and just give Henry Kissinger the presidentship and that's it? I don't know. Bollocks. Right, okay, audio. Let's have a quick look. Can you hear this?
Yes.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
It's fantastic. But I tell you, Ollie, I think what ought to happen is that the show should start and end with the Dam Busters.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But this, I mean, hold on. What happened in Brussels, Strasbourg, wherever the bloody hell they were today? It was a bit of this, wasn't it? Oh. Oh, come on. Where is it? Anyway, it's supposed to be Beethoven's ninth or whatever they reckon is their, I don't know, if you want to be a citizen of the EU or something. Anyway, we'll play a bit of Farage later.
It's Beethoven's Ode to Joy.
No, it's not. It's Wagner's Flight of the Valkyries.
Oh, well, no, what Ollie just played, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, we had a mixture. We had some Italian in there and a bit of Wagner. But of course, the Brussels anthem is Ode to Joy by Beethoven.
Is it?
Right. Good.
I'm
gonna check to make sure that audio, that everybody could hear it or whatever. In fact, oh blimey, we've already got people queued up. Can you hear everybody? Audio all clear, says Casual Drinker. Casual Drinker, God bless you, on a Wednesday evening. Tonight, we're going to talk about, doomsday scenarios and what's going on and why, who, Han, or whatever it's called. And Boris's Johnson, I don't know what. Coming up in, should we just, if it's working, we might as well just stay streaming.
Yeah, let's kick straight off. Kate can join us when she joins us.
Okay.
Hopefully when she's put less clothing on.
Brilliant. Excellent. Yes. As soon as our co-host, Katie Paris, Katie Fanning, God bless her, pops in, then we're ready to go. And but yeah, there you go. So look, in the meantime, the show hasn't started. This is a Billy bonus. Yeah, Billy bonus. Oh,
so the show, we're not streaming publicly.
We are.
We are. Everything we're saying is going out to the masses.
Oh damn! I want to tell a particularly filthy joke, and I can't.
We got Stephen Lang here. God bless you, Stephen Lang. God bless you, sir. Chris Rumbold. A marked lack of chaos so far, Ollie. It's amazing. It's amazing. I can't believe things are working. Apart from my little earbud things, which I've got these instead. But anyway, that's all right. Fucking bollocks.
But your audio actually sounds pretty good tonight. I mean, I don't know what you've done, with your buttons and your knobs, but you seem to have got the levels right tonight.
I was playing with a knob earlier, and I seem to have sorted it. Two lumps and a cream corner. Everything seems to be working out quite nicely so far. But yeah, okay, tell us the joke, Viscount. Just try and, I don't know, censor it somehow, and I'll find out what's going on with the news.
And you will probably, we're after the watershed time. We were talking about comedy the other night.
We're not in the States. Just bear that in mind. Yeah, and this is international. Yeah. Go on.
Hi, America. How you doing?
Well, In actual fact, and funny enough, this joke was said in the States by a well-known comedian. And once I tell you the joke, guess who the comedian is, and it's quite strong. And he left it for the very last joke of the evening of the encore. And it's where are the bounds of comedy? Where does freedom of speech end? And you can make jokes about all kinds of stuff, and it's you can do political. But how do you get a homosexual to shag a bird? Shit in her cunt.
No, go on. Say that again.
I know. It's horribly wrong.
Do what? How do you get a homosexual to shag a bird?
Shit in a cunt.
H-I-T in her C-U-N-T.
That was Jimmy Carr.
Charlie uniform.
That was
Nevada
Jimmy Carr.
Tango. That was Jimmy Carr. Now the point being, it proves the point. Well, it sort of makes.
Don't use that word. We don't use that word. Don't even know what that word means. Americans, bless you, that are all derived from Presbyterians. Do apologise.
I've got to take the Tourette pill. It'll calm down slightly later. The point being is what are the boundaries and the limitations on freedom of speech? If you make a political comment, if you're Donald Trump, for example, on tweet and you say, let's build a wall and keep the Mexicans out, if you wrap that in a joke, all of a sudden it becomes acceptable and you get star ratings and you fill auditoriums. But if you're a politician with zero sense of humour, all of a sudden it becomes offensive and you get impeached. It's just abuse of power. It's like I told this Russian guy the other day to Foxtrot Oscar.
Better.
And we're not going to send him money for his security unless he plays ball with us. Which I think, if you're president of the United States or a would-be president, is fair game. Now all of a sudden you've got the guys who are putting themselves up for election against Trump are the first ones to sign the impeachment bloody thing. And that ludicrous procession into Washington is like, hang on a sec, how do you nobble your opponent?
There's impeach him.
Do you know what? Put him on trial. I mean, can you imagine doing that in cricket or golf? What do? It's like Tiger Woods. Actually, you can't do it because I think you shagged someone who's slightly underage or someone who's not your wife.
Do you remember that lovely footage of Tiger Woods' wife when she found out that he'd been basically banging everything that moved, and he was getting out of his car, I think, in the driveway. She sort of launched on his car with one of his golf clubs and started stoving in the window. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yes, I do remember that. That was funny. Tiger Woods. He's come back though, hasn't he? He's come back. He's quite incredible.
Yeah,
quite incredible.
His wife was quite hot stuff too. I mean,
she was sort of like little Norwegian blonde or something. I don't know. I think
didn't speak much English. I remember, but
this is not a politically correct show. Yeah.
Well, I mean, was that case of Joaquin Cortez dating what was her name, Naomi Campbell, the model Naomi Campbell, and apparently, he didn't speak a word of English and she didn't speak a word of French, but somehow they managed to communicate. My sister used to work for the Daily Mail. She used to be one of Lord Rothermere's secretaries, and occasionally she'd get tickets for the Daily Mail box at the Royal Albert Hall, and she ended up with some tickets for Joaquin Cortez, and I got dragged along. I mean, I was probably one of the only men in the audience, and Joaquin was up on stage with his leather trousers on, obviously shirtless, with his long black mane of gypsy hair, sort of dancing sort of prolifically with this sort of troupe of pretty girls, and then once he'd worked up a suitable sweat, he sort of the female audience was sort of almost in a sort of a Beatlesque type of fervor. He came down the steps at the front of the stage, and there was this aisle sort of along the where at the front of the stage, and these women were literally just hurling themselves at his feet and sort of grappling at his leather trousers, and he was whipping them with his sweaty mane of hair, and they were sort of just sort of putting their hands up to their faces and bathing in his gypsy sweat. And I was just looking down from the Daily Mail balcony thinking, what in the God's name's going on?
Well, you've got to consider the ecological nightmare of what do you do with 10,000 pairs of rather moist Primark knickers on stage? How do you dispose of them?
I mean, that and a Westlife gig. I mean, I got dragged to a Westlife gig by some girlfriend from the ancient past. And I think I was one of the only guys in the audience at that as well. And the women were just going nuts. I mean, nuts. I think a lot of it might have been ironically nuts, but yeah, nuts nonetheless. No, but with Joachim, it was a genuinely sort of erotic fervor. I mean, these women were literally throwing themselves at his feet. I mean, it was like he'd sort of worked them up into some sort of black magic sort of spell further. I don't know what the hell was going on. I was sort of like sat up there like David Attenborough looking at some sort of weird anthropological experiment. It was bizarre.
But Piers, the irony is this: you know, if he cut one of them on the cheek, you know, bottom cheek or fondled the breast, 20 years later, all of a sudden there'd be an accusation of sexual assault. She'd been abused, taken advantage of, even though her Primark knickers have been sort of, you know, burnt at the local rubbish dump, along with the other 10,000 pairs, or 9,999, and you end up in an awful lot of trouble. I mean, I'll never forget. I'm a huge fan of Jim Davidson, the comedian.
Hooray!
You're the one.
And Jim, for many years, has entertained British troops, you know, at home and abroad. He's got a very close. Well, his father was services, and Jim is also the sort of the house comedian for Hereford, 2 Special Air Service. And when he was accused of sexual assault by these 2 or 3 birds, and it never went to trial, but nonetheless he was, I think, charged. And it's like, what are you thinking? Going to Tramp nightclub, renowned for hosting millionaires. It's a bit like Paul Daniels. What was the first thing you found attractive about the millionaire Paul Daniels? It was Paul Daniels, I think.
It was, yeah, that's right. What's his wife called?
Debbie. And I think that was wife number 2 or 3.
Well, Debbie McGee.
Debbie McGee, absolutely right.
Ooh.
Well, I tell you what, speaking of celebrities, and I hate to say this because I was a huge fan, but for the last 5 years, my family, we have a Deadpool at Christmas where we nominate people who are going to die during the year.
Nice.
The only one we've got right is Nicholas Parsons.
Well, next year you can put us all down. I don't think we're going to get to next year. You better bring it forward. Let's bring Easter forward, and then you can have a Deadpool at, you know, next week.
Well, just wait for my Islam joke. We'll all have fatwas. So in actual fact, you're probably right. We're a certain pair.
Yeah, I mean that's actually a really good idea. Yeah, who's going to die in the year ahead? I haven't thought of that one.
All of us.
We're so dull at Christmas. We all just sit around eating turkey, and we sit there with our Christmas hats on. You know, what are they out of the crackers or whatever, and get pissed, and then watch the Queen at 3. I mean, I don't know how many other people watch the Queen at 3, but my mother.
I did. Just to see if she was going to bring up, I don't know, something interesting like, oh, we don't know Jeffrey Epstein. I've never heard of him. But she didn't mention it. A bit boring.
Well, there's this rumor going about that Ghislaine Maxwell's been hacked. Well, I don't know whether that's legit or whether or not it's just a way of her getting information out without making it look like she's putting it out herself. You know, because I mean, people who are kind of on death row when it comes to having evidence that could criminally indict the elite.
What, people like Julian Assange?
Tend to be in rather sort of precarious ground, and one would say the same about Ghislaine at the moment. So maybe the hack was a kind of euphemistic way of saying, yeah, I'm basically going to dump everything I have out there. Because that way I'll be self-protecting myself. And I think probably Andrew knows this now. apparently, the FBI have been desperate to interview Andrew. And when he went on the television, he said personally that, yeah, of course I'll cooperate with the FBI now.
Piers, darling.
Yeah.
We got to start. Got to start.
Okay.
10 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. Carry on.
Well, I mean, now he's carrying behind Mummy's, skirt, isn't he? You know, he's sort of hiding.
Oh, blimey. Oh, balls. Yeah. Oh, dear. Good evening, good people. Howdy, folks. That's what Boris says these days. Howdy, folks. He says howdy, folks. He got that from the Daily Brexit, didn't he? That's what old Piers reckoned.
Yeah.
Good evening and welcome to the Daily Chaos. Ordo ab ruddo KO. Ordo ab KO. Right, this is the newly revised edition of the Daily Chaos here. Dream Team is here tonight. We got old Piers there, old Garnham, yeah? We got Bubba Kate Paris. I don't know where she is. I'll go and have a look for her in a minute. I'll basically press the button. Piers will start talking, and he never stops until you press the button again. That'll be fine. And I'll go and find Bubs. And we got Viscounts and Davids. Good evening, Viscount, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Fine. What's going on? What's going on? Look, you two, tell us between you, please. What's going on? I'm going to go off and find our other co-host.
What do you mean?
Never disturb a lady in the shower.
You need to, mate. I don't know if you can see YouTube, Rodders, but I can only see your forehead, and
Really?
Yeah, you need to bring your camera down a bit. Yeah. But so far, technically, so good. Not bad, eh? Not bad. We're getting there. What's going on, Piers? What are we talking about tonight?
Well, there's a distinct lack of interesting news to discuss at the moment.
It's boring.
There's absolutely nothing going on. I mean, the newspapers are just sort of puppies getting run over and people over loose pavement slabs, and it's nothing happening, man. I don't know what the hell we're going to fill an hour with.
Well, do you know what? Au contraire, mon ami. In actual fact, I think some of the revelations which are starting to leak out re these Pakistani grooming gangs, where the old Bill are putting their hands up and saying, actually, we did ignore it. We were given advice, and we know where that advice originally came from. Successive governments, but most notably Tony Blair, what's he called? Keir Starmer, who was the Director of Public Prosecution for 2008 to 2013, who then amazingly was selected for a safe Labour seat. And there is clear documentary evidence, which hopefully will be revealed.
Well, hopefully it'll be revealed before he gets elected as the new Labour leader.
Well, do you know what? Either way, who wants to vote for someone who's put his chip on the Asian vote and
Starmer? He's the kind of character. He looks as though he sat down on a pencil. He's walking around with a pencil up his arse. He's that kind of a character. I mean, come on. He's another Blairite, yeah. But I mean,
through and through. I mean,
like Whitehead, Blackadder.
But what's the choice? You've got him. You've got Emily Thornberry, who basically hates the plebs. You've got.
She hates you. Oh,
She tried to get me arrested. You've got what's his...
before he gets elected as the new Labour leader.
Well, do you know what? Either way, who wants to vote for someone who's put his chip on the Asian vote and
Starmer is the
Hold
kind
on.
of character.
Oh no!
He looks
No!
as though
What's
he
going on
sat
there?
down on a
Hold on!
pencil.
Oh no!
He's
No!
walking around with a pencil up his arse.
What?
He's that kind of a character.
Hold on!
I mean,
That's it's Bubs.
He's
Has
another
Bubs
mayor
popped
right
in?
But
Bubs,
I mean,
through and through. I mean,
why did I get feedback there? We just had our first technical
what's
problem
the
of the
choice?
night.
You've got him. You've got Emily Thornberry, who basically
Right.
hates
Oh
the
no!
plebs.
Oh no! Something it's now it's cocked up. Now it's
arrested.
cocked up. I didn't do anything. I didn't press it. I did not touch my knob.
Ollie, stop touching the knob.
I don't know what happened there.
Oh, I think we're back to square one now. It's that we seem to have lost that sort of echo.
Oh no!
Oh,
No!
oh, no, it's
No,
not
What's going on there?
No, something's gone wrong. Something has definitely gone wrong.
Really doesn't want
Hold
talking
on.
about
That's it's Bubs. Has Bubs
Oh
popped in?
no! Oh, hold on a sec. I don't know what the problem is here.
Why did
Hold
I
on.
get feedback there?
Oh,
We just
bear
had our
with me.
first
Bear with me,
technical
people.
problem
Please bear with me, people. I do apologise.
tonight. Right. Oh no.
Um, yeah, yes.
Now
Oh,
it's cocked up. Now it's cocked up. I didn't do anything. I didn't press it. I did not touch my knob.
Ollie, stop touching the knob.
we've had a message from Bubs. Apparently, her charger is wet. Her charger is wet, and so she daren't plug it into the wall yet until she dries it off.
hang on, her charger is wet.
Yeah.
And she can't be shagging a horse.
What?
Oh, there we go. Okay,
Sorry, 9A.
okay. I'll tell you what. That feedback was that Jason Tyler's fault. That closet Marxist over at wakeupuk.net. Who we get? It's the only people that take this feed because nobody else wants it. Obviously, Jason does. God bless him. And anyway, he refreshed something or other, and there you go. In the background there, by the way, that's what's going on with the impeachment trial, or it was earlier. That's a bit earlier. It's not actually live. That's live now. That's live now in the background. But yeah, right.
What is the latest on the impeachment? You know, I mean, haven't they been tearing the Bidens a new a-hole? You know, coming out with all the evidence of Joe Biden's son. What's his name? He's got some weird American name. You know, like the son. It's called
Hunter. Yeah, Hunter with an H, not like Jeremy.
And,
Yes.
You know.
Do you know what? It's just such a pile of the dope and rubbish. And do you know what I find extraordinary is that we entered a new age of politics where, okay, if you were the losing party, the Liberals or Labour or your Conservatives, at least you surrounded yourself, you chipped in to support the country, which is how Tony Blair, when he took us to war in Iraq, the Conservatives were equally mounted in favour of going to war based on the government's decision. There's something about the Liberals in America where they can't actually protect their own bloody country. They've got to destroy the presidency. They can't agree on anything. And it's only by virtue of majority and patronage that Trump is able to have done what he's done. And I think what he's done is absolutely fantastic.
Controversial.
Can I just ask before we carry on, Rodders, would you mind pulling your camera down a bit because we're still.
Leave Rudders alone. He's fine. I can see him.
Does that work?
Well, it's a bit better. I can see your nose now. A bit more. No. Now we're beginning to see your chest hairs. There you go. But between the two, yes. No, a wee bit more. Yes. Perfect. We are there. The show has sorted, and It's only 10 minutes in. Bubs isn't here yet. She dropped her charger in the bath or something. I don't know what, but she will be here shortly. And anyway, Jesus Jones says, fear is how they control us. So are you telling us, gentlemen, are you seriously telling us that Donald Trump should not be impeached? I mean, come on. He's orange.
Well, so half the population of Cheshire. Too much time on sunbeds and, tanning salons.
No, he shouldn't be impeached, and I don't think he will be either. I think the whole thing is, it's just a sort of, slow motion car crash. It seems to be designed to sort of waste a lot of time. It does seem pretty evident that those that are hell bent on trying to impeach him have a lot of skeletons in the closet, stuff they don't want to come out. I don't know if any of you follow this sort of rather conspiratorial back channel called QAnon, but you get a little bit of taste of what might be to come, and it does seem that we're sort of coming to a head. It does seem that certain things might end up being revealed. We've got Prince Andrew, obviously, with Epstein in the UK. We've got various accusations of similar stuff with a number of the people who are pointing the finger at Trump and trying to get him impeached. So I don't know. And then now we've got the coronavirus happening, which seems to be bizarrely timed. With all this other stuff, going on and some major sort of establishment characters sort of in the front and center for potential exposure. It does seem quite interesting that we seem to be sort of potentially on the verge of a global pandemic now.
Well, do you know what I'd like to
know?
It's
all good. It's all good.
Is what I'd like to know.
They're not going to get me.
Who named this virus after a Cuban cigar stroke a Mexican beer? Who actually came up with, we'll call it coronavirus, as opposed to virus?
Well, no, there is a patent for the coronavirus. I think it's an American patent. It's a different strain of the coronavirus, but
coronavirus is basically flu, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's not. I don't know what kind of virus it is, but the
ratty batty.
The patented version of coronavirus is something that's been in labs and is being studied. Now the question is whether or not Kate.
Go on. Kate. Yeah, that's Kate. She's coming. She obviously has not electrocuted herself. What's?
No.
Hey, Kate. Hello, darling.
Hello. Good evening, all. Sorry, I'm a bit late.
Kate,
my phone keeps
looking
beeping at me, telling me that my charger's moist or something, and it makes that really annoying noise that cars do when you're sitting in the seat and you don't do the seatbelt. So it won't let me charge. It's letting me now, so hopefully.
A lady's prerogative to be a few minutes late. Never be the first to arrive. It's not.
Unless you're holding the event. If you're hosting it, then you have to be there.
Well, of course, yeah. It's nice if you're there to greet your guests. Yeah, that's very true.
Well, I think the expression is, gentlemen should always expect to win silver.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, quite right. So hold on a sec, because actually, seriously though, this corona thing.
Yeah, so there is a patent for a coronavirus, but there are lots of different strains of coronavirus. Now the question is, did this arise from Chinese people eating bat soup and dogs and cats and whatever else they can find, or did it result as some sort of meddling that occurred in a lab in Wuhan? There is a viral lab where they do experimentation and studies into viruses, probably including the coronavirus. Now, was it an accidental or deliberate release of this virus from this said lab? It does seem that the patients that they believe are ground zero patients or patient zero are not related to these food markets. The food market and the soup thing and bats and all the rest of it does seem to be a bit of a smokescreen. So I don't know. I obviously can't categorically say one way or the other, but it's just the timing of this whole thing that seems a little bit fishy. It does seem that because of the sort of monumental scale of things going on, that it's basically potentially pointing the finger at the establishment. It does seem that this is quite handily sort of a handy distraction for the world.
Well, Piers, and I hate the expression with all due respect, but you could have said the same about the bubonic plague in. Actually, it was rather handy when we were at war with the French, fighting across Europe.
That's right.
We thought, I tell you what we'll do is we'll distribute a pile of infested rats, and bingo, which wiped out a third of the European population. But
do you think this will spread, Rodders? I mean, do you think this will become something really quite nasty and serious? I mean, I deal with a lot of Chinese clients in my job. I mean, literally, I'm shaking hands with Chinese people.
Oh, don't shake hands. I'm surprised that they want to shake hands with you anymore. We're not supposed to be shaking hands now. Do you know why people shake hands?
Yes.
Go on, tell us why.
It's a sign of peace, and that you don't have a weapon in your right hand. Most people are right-handed, which is why we shake hands with the right hand.
That's right.
And you're putting your hand forward, and it's like. But if you look at the bloody Scots, I've got to say, Al Murray did a fantastic comedic. No, it wasn't Al Murray. It was Michael McIntyre. How were the Scots created? Well, we're going to make them the furthest thing away from English people. So English people wear trousers. Well, we're going to wear a skirt. English people wear dark socks. Well, we'll wear white hockey socks. And they're sort of getting along with it. It's like, where do I put my money? Well, we'll give you a kind of bag which you can wear around your scrotum. Don't worry, it'll be furry. So there's no shame there. And it's like, but it all sounds a bit puffy. But don't worry, we'll allow you to wear a dagger in your sock. Now, the idea when you go for a party in a Scots house, they've got the skin do, which is some ceremonial thing for cutting up a haggis. In actual fact, if you're walking around the streets of Glasgow, the Gorbals, and you get nicked with a bloody dagger in your sock, you're serving 10 years, or you certainly should be.
Yes, I think the Sikhs are allowed to wander about with their big, I don't know, swords, aren't they? For religious reasons.
No,
is that not the case? Or is it only machetes that they're allowed to carry about?
No.
I don't think Sikhs do. Sikhs seem pretty cool. Hey?
On religious days, the place where you are allowed to walk around with a sword is if you're a freeman in the City of London.
Really?
And you're allowed to carry a sword as long as you're wearing a top hat. And for some reason, absolutely no joke. And you're allowed to drive sheep across the bridges. Which
right. Yeah.
So that's Nigel Farage sorted then, because he's a freeman of the City of London, so he can wander about with a sword and a kilt or something. Top hat.
Father's a freeman of the City of London. I mean, lots of people are freemen of the City of London. I mean, it's not that much of a deal, to be honest with you.
Is that not a Masonic thing, Piers?
Well,
no, it's not.
No,
he is a Mason. He's a member of a livery company. He's a member of the worshipful company of farriers. And there's lots of different worshipful companies. The worshipful company of gun makers, the worshipful company of farriers, there's worshipful companies of all kinds of, tanners and God knows what. So, there's all sorts of different livery companies and they just basically have lots of white tie dinners and get pissed.
So they basically eat children's livers.
No, they don't. What I love is the worshipful company of bowyers. And I thought, when I was invited,
what's a bowyer?
Well, someone who's
a sausage.
Well, that's what I thought. I didn't realise that sausage makers and pork pie makers were represented. And it's like, no, a bowyer is a chap who makes a bow and arrow, and it's one of the.
How have we gone this off topic?
That's a good point, Bubs. That's why you're here, to keep us in line.
We should allow Kate some airtime.
God bless you, Kate. Kate, what's going on? Are you coming down with the flu?
No, luckily, I've kind of been a bit isolated, so I'm hoping I've not picked anything up. I'm trying to avoid the general public at the moment, just because, few nasty things going about this coronavirus. Apparently, there's now more people diagnosed in China than there was with the SARS outbreak. I mean, Piers was coming out with some interesting theories on how, you know, it may have come about, whether it is from, you know, unsanitary eating habits, you know, eating things that you shouldn't. Ebola came about, but then there is the laboratory.
Bubs. But hold that before you carry on, because could you just move your camera down a bit, because we can't see your cleavage.
Don't listen to it, Bubs. Don't listen to it.
Just bring your camera down so that we've got a better view. Excuse me.
No.
We're getting a lot of ceiling. We're not interested in the ceiling and the paintings behind you. We like your lovely rock.
Bugger your Tory chandelier, darling. You know, pull that bloody camera down. Oh, there we go. Wow.
Anyway, back to business, boys. So this virus, I do think that it's come from the lab.
I'm not. She thinks I'm joking. I'm not joking. No, Bubs. Really. At the moment, we can only see the pictures above your head. Honestly, pull the camera down a bit. Yeah, there you go. Get a bit more, bit more.
Well, let me click on it. Yeah, I can see what you can see now.
Can you? Oh, I apologise. Right. Okay. Good. What's going on? Why have you not come down with Corona beer?
Coronavirus. Well, hopefully, because I've been avoiding places where, you know, it is a possibility where you may get it. I haven't attended Chinese New Year celebrations this year, because before they went on to lockdown and put these cities in quarantine, quite a lot of people did travel. So obviously this virus has now gone worldwide, and rather than putting in measures when, you know, an infectious emerging pathogen first came out, they've allowed it to spread across the world. So we're still unsure of what the rate of infection is. You were asking at one point earlier on in message if we thought that, you know, it's possible that the statistics have been lied about and it might be worse than what it is. I mean, they're now saying that we should start preparing ourselves a pandemic, and it may
that's the WHO, isn't it? That's the World Health Organization saying that.
The World Health Organization said that this today. I mean, I was trying to look at our policies and procedures as a nation, because it seems like we have an awful lot of them in place for things like livestock, for pets that travel, for even seeds and fruits and vegetables. You know, all of these things have to go through some sort of process before they enter the country to ensure that they're free of pests, diseases, and that they're not going to be invasive and harm the environment or the nature.
We do that to the Chinese.
we don't do that with humans, but even when we know that a dangerous emerging infectious illness is spreading,
like a Pakistani grooming gang,
we don't start to put measures in place. I mean, the quarantine's come a little bit late now, hasn't it? Why was it not done in the first place? When we don't understand what a virus is and how infectious it is, how deadly it's going to be, you know, we shouldn't be permitting travel from those countries. And if those nations are going to allow people to travel from there, Britain certainly should not be letting them in. I mean, I believe now that we are quarantining people trying to come from places in China that have been affected. But like I say, it's too little too late. If this turns out to be something that can't be controlled, that is resistant to treatment, that passes easily and is airborne from human to human, you could be looking at something on the scale of Spanish flu. Now, we do have strategies, and there's something like a 300-something page document, PDF I could send over to you, on how we deal with flu pandemics, influenza. But we don't have ones for biological made, possibly, you know, weaponized weaponized pathogens. I mean, this coronavirus is a mutated version of SARS, and SARS was created as well in China. Both of them were. I mean, I don't know whether it's the case that other countries have got it, but it's quite clear that that this isn't, you know, something that's come about naturally. And I think the fact that we're already on thin ice with our behaviors, the way that we rear our livestock. I mean, the Spanish flu actually came from Massachusetts. I don't know whether people know this. And they were farming both chickens and they were farming both pigs. And the chickens had a flu, but it couldn't cross over to the humans, but it crossed over to the pigs. And so did the human flu. And inside the pigs, it mutated and created what was the Spanish flu and was able to pass over into humans. We had no defense against it. And at the time, war was going on and it spread across the world. And, it wiped out a huge portion of the world's population. We had no defense against it.
That's right.
Katie,
but we don't really have measures that we take seriously to prevent that. And I think, seen as if the primary purpose of the government is the defense of the people of this nation, I think they should start seriously considering the impact that global migration has on the impact of the nation's health and how the things like the pathogens, even ones that aren't created in a lab, ones that are being created in environments like India, where people can just buy antibiotics and they don't finish the course and the virus gets used to it and then they pass it on. Things like TB. We now have multi-drug resistant tuberculosis in Great Britain. Manchester has, very reasonably high infection rates. It doesn't get talked about because they don't want to link human migration to what could be, global health crisis.
Hang on, Kate.
Time to start questioning why we don't.
Kate.
So basically, we're all buggered.
Well, we are.
We might get lucky this time.
We are the moment we're born, unfortunately, regardless of which century you were brought up in, that you always have something to moan about. But the point that Kate raises is actually two separate topics. One is pandemic viruses, which are natural, which can now be treated. The other one is the deliberate breeding of a virus in a laboratory, where in actual fact, no health measure will suffice. As soon as you've got an immigrant or a visitor, a tourist who comes off a Ryanair jet, well, most.
What about jumping onto a beach down at Brighton or something? All these blokes. Well, Stephen Lang says he's got a good point. Who's testing that lot? I mean, they're probably being put straight, given, I don't know, council houses or something, and asked to cough all over the locals, cough over the natives. Come on in and give us a cough.
The Spanish flu happened in 1920. We're in 2020. I think there was an outbreak of the plague in Europe in 1720. I can't remember what happened in 1820.
Piers. History repeating itself. You kind
it
of.
Does seem that every century.
I feel like you're jinxing us right now.
There seems to be a global pandemic. And it wasn't the Spanish flu.
Piers, you're spot on. But you know what? The outbreaks of the increase of chlamydia in Britain.
Well, that's more important.
Well,
go on.
Is, any self-respecting chat or lady, I can't quote the figures, but since bloody Ryanair and what's it?
O'Leary
and EasyJet.
Stelios.
Stelios.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
I believe that the highest rates of infection are those under the age of 25. It's why they went on this big, campaign of awareness of, sexually transmitted diseases. You think you learn it in secondary school, but they had to reteach them again in university because of the increased rates of infection of young people. But, when we're talking about pandemics, infectious diseases, communicable infectious diseases, particularly sexually transmitted diseases, we've got to consider the high rates of, untreated HIV that may be coming into this country with people that don't declare it, people that might not seek treatment, and the migrants that do seek treatment. It's very expensive to give people the antiretroviral medication to look after them in hospital. It's something like £40,000 a year per patient. How many people come in and how much does it cost the NHS? It's another form of health tourism. And I know it sounds a little bit inhumane and, like we can't discriminate based on diseases, but, we've got to consider whether, we have to start looking after the nation before we start looking after other people. Because
no, don't be silly, for crying out loud. That's a silly idea.
For people to be exposed to dangerous diseases that they're unaware of, just because we want to be Well, SJW.
In line of what Boris has done with
our emotions before rationale.
You trust him to genuinely close the borders and bring in a sort of points-based system? I mean,
well, hang on.
Hold on a sec. Okay, whoa. Close the borders? He's just given our telecoms to bloody China. Never mind close the borders. He's basically working for the Chinese government.
Hang on. Well, first of all, we're jumping ahead of ourselves. First of all, I totally agree with Kate. You know what? 100%. It's not our job to be the global hospital for people with, Ebola, with, diarrhea, with God knows what. It's the stag weekends inspired by easy
liberal Democrats.
Do you know that whole piece? Kate is absolutely spot on.
Are you blaming cheap airlines for the spread of sexually transmitted diseases in Britain?
Only the Mile High Club.
Ryanair, in particular, 12 quid to go out to a whorehouse.
You don't think it's the degenerate hedonistic behaviour of those young people on holiday? I mean, did you ever see that video with a girl? Let's say giving oral pleasure to 20 odd guys in a bar to win a free holiday whilst on holiday. I think I can't remember where it was. It was one of these horrible touristy islands that, it's all about just.
Okay.
Look, where Ryanair would take you, as you say.
I'm going to give you some statistics that came out of the dean of the University of Hong Kong. Who reckons that far from there being the stat, yes, I don't know that we've had a stat today, but the Chinese yesterday kindly let us know that there were about 4,700 cases of this corona chicken pox or whatever, and that was basically almost doubled, about 80% up on the previous day. Now that's the Chinese, the commie dictatorship's official figure. The people that basically control your telephone calls and everything we do online, and can intercept everything that we do basically in the UK now. God bless them. According to the dean of the Hong Kong University, actually the infection rate, the infection level, as of last Saturday, not today, Wednesday, as of last Saturday, in Wuhan alone, Wuhan was 44,000. 44,000. That's according to the dean of Hong Kong, whatnot. I don't know how much propaganda there is involved in this. I know there's issues between, kind of the Hong Kong lot and people in, I don't know, wherever it is, Beijing or whatever it is. But a nurse in Wuhan reckoned it was 90,000. I don't know how she came up with that figure. I don't know. One sec. Let me just get these stats out. But anyway, this dean, he reckons 44,000, which is 10 times almost the number of what they're officially stating in the CCP or whatever it is. Now, this dean also reckons that this thing is, the infection rate is doubling every 6.2 days. That's what he reckons, 6.2 days. And which it's very hard to judge, I would have thought, at this early stage and all the rest of it. But anyway, that's what he reckoned. Now, if you were to do the maths on that, I was watching The War Room earlier, Steve Bannon, or whatever it is, Breitbart, bloke, Trump, all that. He reckoned, his team there reckoned, that if you do the maths on that, then by the middle of May, we're looking, and this is just maths, this is just the maths, unless they find a cure. And there's no cure. There's no cure. Is there? There's no cure yet. Anyway, there's no kind of vaccine or whatever. 1.47 billion. 1.47 billion people infected. Now, China, how many people live in China? What is it, about 3 billion? It's about a third of the world's population, isn't it? It's a lot of people. So, but also we know it's in about 60, 70 different countries. This thing, I mean, being relatively serious, I mean, it's laugh or cry, yeah? It's laugh or cry. I mean, you could be miserable about it. The fact is, 50 years, we'll all be dead. So we might as well have a laugh anyway. Apparently it's 5 months and we'll all be dead. I don't know. But the fact is, we can't be too serious. But it is actually, this is pretty serious. Okay, Rollers, go on. I'll shut up.
First of all, given the numbers that you've given, it will be the solution to global warming. I mean, laugh or cry, but this is what nature does. The reality is you've got 1.7 billion people who will be shuffled off the planet.
Mortal coil.
With Spanish flu that Kate mentioned earlier, or Piers did. We had
that only killed 60 million, I think.
No, it was more. It was more. It was 30 million.
There'll be more.
Sorry.
There'll be more. After disease, there'll be instability. They'll start to become famine because there's going to be less people. There is going to be civil unrest, and most likely, there will end up being war. Whenever you have one, the other two come with it. War, pestilence.
If we look at how we responded, or the world responded to the Ebola crisis in Central Africa, no one gave a damn. And the reality is, yes, there was civil unrest. Did we give a damn? The answer is no, because the economic output was of no relevance to Western Europe. Is the reality.
It was because
what if China falls into civil unrest? What if Western nations fall into civil unrest because the mass spread of disease? Then there's issues with transportation and restocking.
Well,
people were most likely riot. In the last riots we've had, most people went looting.
Well, the Chinese are used to that. Let's not forget they're a newly industrialized country. I think the reality is, and the Chinese have a brutal outtake on social unrest, as we've seen in Hong Kong. And I think that the scenes that we've seen in Hong Kong, in actual fact, are exceptional, because the Chinese, on the whole, have been a very subjugated.
China now.
Hello? What?
China now. Okay.
What? Oh, sorry. No. Oh, I didn't think you could hear that. I must have put it on the wrong thing. I did interview Donald earlier for the show, and this is what he had to say.
China now.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, that was Donald. That was Donald Trump's take on it. But the economy is going to be foxtrot Oscared in the words of the Viscount. No,
a lot of people in conspiracy land do.
Within a week, probably. Actually, already bond yields are negative.
Well, which means that you pay more to banks to hold your money than you should receive in a risk-reward return.
Not good for pension funds, but also that is indicative, as I understand it. That's what somebody intelligent told me earlier. Anyway, that is basically indicative. It shows, it's a signal that the economy is about to go skew-whiff stroke tank.
Bollocks.
Really?
Sorry.
Go on.
The economy looks good, anyway.
That is not a correct economic analysis.
Oh, well, you tell me then. You tell me. China needs the export market. It needs the export market. It cannot. And that export market is gonna dry up pretty damn quick. They've already got 100 million in quarantine or whatever. Enormous, great big cities. Wuhan, by the way, is kind of like the Chinese equivalent of Birmingham. Or Pittsburgh in the States. In that, it's a terminus. It's where everything that is not going to the coast goes via Wuhan to get anywhere else. They have this kind of an economy in China where it's a what's it called? It's the kind of economy where they basically produce just what they need and get it out, because then they don't have to warehouse it. And if nobody's going to work because they're all holed up in the loo or whatever, then they're not going to be able to produce anything. Their economy is going to tank, and the global economy is just going to go whatnot. No?
Olly, no. The answer is no. That is absolutely simply ludicrous. if you look at the city of Wuhan and you look at industrial output compared to other provinces in China, the numbers that you're quoting and the notion that the Chinese economy is going to tank is bollocks, bluntly.
The economy is growing roughly 5% per annum at the moment. It might shrink a little bit, but it's still
nonetheless
their growth model at the moment is far greater than practically anywhere else. So
yeah, I agree with you. And you look at the same with India. You could wipe out a third of India, and it's not going to stop. In actual fact, that would probably boost growth. And that's not to sound cruel or mean. It's just an economic fact. But actually, what I'd like to do is change the subject slightly to how terrified the Germans are about 11 o'clock GMT Friday night.
Oh, no. Before you do. I just want people's predictions on where this coronavirus is going to go. Before we get into Brexit, I just want your thoughts on where realistically this thing is leading us. But maybe Bubs, maybe you can kick us off with that.
Well, it'd be purely speculation, but at the rate of infection and the rate that it's going at the moment, the fact that they don't seem to have any way of treating it. I mean, I'd imagine if you're reasonably fit and healthy, you're probably likely to survive it with good Western medical care, because you can basically be in a coma and nearly dead and be brought back out here as long as you're in the hospital. However, people that are quite young, because it mimics pneumonia and brings on a form of pneumonia, very, very young, the very, very old, people that are unwell, these people are the likely ones that are going to suffer the most. Obviously, it's going to spread. I do think that our government will take some sort of responsibility, and anybody who shows any signs of infection will be quarantined in hospital. So they will take measures now to protect the public. However, I am quite worried that it might reach, Spanish flu pandemic levels. It's possible. It's very likely. At this stage, we don't know whether the data we're getting is correct. And even if it's correct at the rates that it's going now, the numbers that are likely to be affected just from, statistical consistency, because I don't see anything slowing down the spread of this virus apart from quarantine and measures to try and restrict it infecting others until it can be, worked out how to treat it effectively, or it just runs its course, as all viruses naturally do. However, I think we will see deaths in the UK, and I think we will see a large number of deaths worldwide. Whether that reaches Spanish flu levels is yet to be seen, but it's a possibility that I think is reasonably likely at this stage.
What are your thoughts, Piers?
Well, I look at it from a more conspiratorial angle as usual, and I think that it is a weaponized virus. That has been released deliberately in a part of the world which would cause sort of maximum damage, because the Chinese travel, all over the world.
Just before Chinese New Year as well.
As a release pen, it was a particularly good part of the world to be coming from. I do think they probably have the antidote for it already. They probably have a cure. They'll probably let this run for as long as is necessary, namely, if there are other things in the news that they are desperate to distract us from, they will allow this thing to continue for as long as it takes to wipe out our desire to learn about other things. And that, I don't know how long that will be and how many deaths will occur subsequently. But I do think they probably have an antidote, a vaccine already stored up. I mean, if it does become a pandemic and a lot of people get infected, then they can make a bloody mint selling the antidote. People will pay whatever it takes to survive. So it could be one of those sort of rather cynical scenarios. But I do quite fancy the idea of it having been released deliberately as a distraction to try and stop us from learning about other things. So I think they'll let it run for as long as is necessary.
Okay, now hold that thought, to stop us learning about other things. Please hold that thought. I want to come back to that. Rodders, what's your take on where we're going with this?
Do you know what? You get these odd viruses that spring up. When we looked at Ebola, which is particularly virulent and horrible, rabies, people didn't understand where rabies came from. And, rabies, in hindsight, could not have been weaponized. And, I know Piers will always go for the weaponized conspiracy. And, I don't necessarily disagree. But I think when you're eating the wrong foodstuffs, nature kicks up a virus. If we look at AIDS, where did AIDS spring up from? Because
CIA. I don't know. I've got no idea. I've got no idea. Bill Gates Foundation. I don't know.
Apparently, it originated from Africa, and it's inherent in some species of monkey who are immune to it. But when exposed to humans, that's where it spread from. So I don't go for the deep state weaponization, albeit there was a fantastic film, I don't know if you recall, called The Cassandra Crossing, starring Richard Harris.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great movie. Carry on.
I think it had Sophia Loren in it, and
excellent.
So weapons of biological warfare. I think the development still continues, but I can't see for any reason how it benefits China to weaponize something which starts on their shores and they export to export markets. It doesn't make any economic sense whatsoever. If you're a drug producer with a cure, Piers, we want to buy shares in that company. But the reality is, I don't think that's where it's originated.
Well, the richest guy in China, a billionaire, I forget his name now, has just donated something like $11 million to try and find a cure. I mean, that could be euphemistic terminology to basically say he's got shares in the cure already, and that he's going to make.
Well, arguably, like the guy who donated to the Australian forestry, to save koala bears and what have you.
What you have for your dinner, Rudders?
Yes, smoked koala. No.
Blimey.
Sorry.
They're an endangered species now. Koalas are an endangered species. But Piers, I hope you're holding that thought. That thought. Right. Okay. We're going to just... tell us about that. That's a nice way to lead into Brexit, probably. Piers, elaborate, sir, on what you meant by this thing being this virus being potentially a smokescreen, assuming that it is all a big, conspiracy and that it's released from, because they had isn't their biggest germ warfare lab in Wuhan, or they've got two of them there. And
let me just start by saying I don't know if anybody's seen the movies, the Jason Bourne films. Well, there was one that followed after Jason Bourne with a different actor. What's his name? His name escapes me, but it was another Hollywood actor playing a similar character from the same program, and he is basically being enhanced virally. So what they've done is they've used viruses as a means of a delivery system to make genetic changes to these soldiers in order to enhance their physical and mental ability. But they've also sort of built in protocols that prevent these soldiers from they crash and burn if they come off the meds. They can't really not take the meds. Otherwise, they literally kind of crash and burn. And these labs that were producing these viral drugs that were enhancing soldiers' physical and mental agility were in the Far East. So, and they have to go on this mission to the Far East to try and get hold of these meds in order to boost his to keep him from going under. And they actually viral him out. Where he no longer has to rely on the drugs, he actually becomes sort of immune, and the enhancements become permanent. Now, this is all. This was all in Manila, I think, in Malaysia, Manila in the Philippines or somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, but what I'm saying is that there are labs that have in the Far East that are heavily sponsored by Western businesses, pharmaceuticals companies, and big business. So just because they're located in places like Wuhan or Manila or wherever, it doesn't mean that they aren't under the auspices of control of large Western corporations.
Right.
You've got to think of it more of on a globalist scale. These places are heavily financed and sponsored by global corporations, and just because they're based in China doesn't make them exclusively Chinese. And that does mean that the lab in Wuhan may well have a lot of Western influence, which may have led to some sort of arranged outbreak.
Well,
that's not so wild for you, to be honest. That's not much of a conspiracy. If you look at how detectives like to solve murders, they look at who sort of profiteers from it, don't they?
Yeah,
so,
that's right. Motives.
Where something like an emerging deadly virus comes from, who's going to profiteer from that if you can't find the source? Where is the root cause? So when you look at that, it does pay to keep people sick. It's one of the reasons why we have the Cancer Act, and they like to enforce people getting chemotherapy, even though there's been developments in other areas that don't make the patient so sick, because it's really efficient. And in places like the United States, they make a fortune off of people being chronically sick, until they die. And then they just move on to the next poor victim and get them sick in the first place and then continue them to be sick. I mean, I would say if you were going to go down the conspiracy route, you could look at the theory that there are a lot of people that think there are too many people in the world. I believe even one member of our royal family mentioned this once. He said there's too many people in the world. The climate changes. People need to stop eating meat. There's too many people in the world. You've got the Georgia Guidestones, saying they want to massively reduce the world's population. I would imagine that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bubs.
Pandemic would be a great way of reducing the world's populations. I mean,
I'll tell you what, girl. I'll tell you what. That Prince Philip bloke. He reckoned that Prince Philip, when he popped his clogs, he wanted to come back as a virus. I reckon somebody should check his pulse just to make sure he's all right.
You reckon Prince Philip was he in Wuhan at the time of the ban?
He didn't look very well in the last photograph I saw of him. It looked like he was dead and someone had propped him up in the car.
He's looked like death warmed up for about the last 10 years. Bless him.
Well, Olly, you suggesting that he's done a Brezhnev, where in actual fact he was cold on the slab for about 8 weeks before they said they started off saying, well, he's got a cold, then it turned to flu, then it turned to flu. And he was stiff as a bloody board. I mean,
that's right. That's right.
The Queen is playing Weekend at Bernie's. She's basically propping him up, and being seen in they're moving his hands and his head, but actually he's just a stiff.
Do you know what? If you want to move on to Megxit that
right.
Article,
go on, Megxit. Lower the tone, Rodders. Go on, tell us about Megxit, mate. Bloody hell.
Well,
what's the latest with that?
I think the view is that there is a major clash of culture here. British royal family versus, social climbing American actress, careerist. And she can't get her own way in the royal family. And there were two words in the statement that they put out. We want to be progressive. Well, it's like, sorry, darling, it's not your place to be progressive in our country under our royal family. And the second word that really made me...
She's only actually under Harry. Sorry, carry on.
Or on Harry, depending on, what your preference is.
That's right. Depending on the day of the week.
The second word, so we've got progressive. I thought it's not for you, infidels, basically, to talk about being progressive with our monarchic institution.
Right. Bloody heathen. Heathen. What's she, from California or something?
Well,
carry on.
Yeah. The second one was collaborate with Her Majesty. It's like, who the
That's
fuck
right.
do you think you are?
What a cheek.
Collaborate.
Bloody cheek. God damn it. Boom. Sorry. Excuse me. Carry on. That was...
Kate, say again. I missed that.
What? Kate?
Sorry, I had a little rant outburst then. I should have just left that. I was like, it's only one queen, Meghan, it's not you.
Do you know what exactly?
How dare she? How
Quite right.
dare she?
Quite
We
right.
She's
collaborate.
being a feminist. She got all of her power, all of her wealth, all of her recognition. I mean, before that, she was some Z-list actress in some, Suits thing that I don't think many people even watched. I didn't know who she was.
I thought it was good.
I had no idea who she was. She was an aging actress who was not going to go into Hollywood, was not going to make films. She probably was not going to get another role outside of Suits. She clearly set her sights on Harry, thinking, yeah. She's like I'll give her a dues. She's like the best gold digger in the world. But even when she came, people will say, oh, well, it's because of British, inherent racism, why she's not been able to integrate into the royal family. That's not why it is. It's because Meghan wanted to come here and she wanted to utilize her money and position within the royal family to push her progressive form of politics. And when she realized that that's not permitted, the royal family are not allowed to manipulate and use propaganda to push political agendas. They don't do that. When she realized that, she can't bully the queen, she's now decided to throw her toys out the pram, and she thinks she can leave with her titles, with money, making deals with, making deals all over the place.
And running for politics.
Did you see the picture of them in Hollywood where Harry was
Duchess of Sussex? And it's like, no, you don't get to use your titles anymore. You don't get to have your cake and eat it. You don't get to have it both ways.
Kate, Olly has rather revealing photographs of Meghan.
I've seen them.
You sent me some rather revealing photographs of Meghan, topless basically, and we can't show them, mate. We can't show them.
No, do not.
We can't show them.
You'll get done.
got a good pair.
It's called revenge porn.
Poor girl. Exactly. That's right. It's revenge porn. And you look. Are we not being a bit unfair? Because she, for all we know, she actually fell in love with Harry Windsor, and
no.
look, we don't know. We do not know. Yeah. All this progressive, collaborate, and Sussex Royal, and all that crap. Clearly, there are a couple of bloody lunatics, but his head seems to have gone out the window since he met her. I don't know, under the thumb, controlled, whatever. But yeah, basically, But on the other hand, are we not being maybe just a bit unfair? I don't know.
Well, he's not bright, bless him. I've mentioned this story,
and he's mixed up, and understandably so.
Yeah, I did a play with his ex-girlfriend, Cressida Bonus, about 3 or 4 years ago, and he came on the opening night to see her in it, and he was sat close to Cressida's mother in the audience, and Cressida wasn't on to the second act, neither was I for that matter. And anyway, there was an interval, and he, in all seriousness, went up to Cressida's mother and sort of went up and said, "Is Cressida in this play?" And she thought that was just highly amusing because obviously, why would she be at this sort of school theatre? Actually Tony Blair's old school in Fulham. We put it on in the theatre there. But anyway, by the by. But Cressida came backstage afterwards and was laughing about the fact that her mother had told her that Harry had come up to her in all seriousness and said, "Is Cressida in this play?" So if he can't deduce that his girlfriend is in a play when her mother is sat in the audience, then the bloke clearly is lacking, a little bit of clout in the nous department. And he was sort of following her around while she was trying to further her career actress and sort of turning up at these various venues in London, these small venues, these where she was doing various plays. Like a bit of a lamb, a lost lamb. And I think when Meghan met him, she saw an opportunity. I think she saw that she could completely dominate him. She was his intellectual superior, and she's obviously an attractive woman. He just fell hook, line.
Now we sound like bloody ITV at 10 o'clock in the morning or something. This is not good. Right. Okay. Let's
And there
change.
are more important issues to be talking about. Really are.
Exactly. We are doing what the fake stream media do. We're distracting. So something else is going on. Rodders, your cue.
Okay, well, actually, I'm rather keen on the European reaction to Nigel Farage's speech. I think of today, where they turned off his mic.
Did something happen today?
Yeah.
What happened today?
Well, he was delivering a farewell speech, which on the whole was pretty polite, but because he was waving the Union Jack, they turned his microphone off.
How far into the speech was it? Because we only have 2 minutes to speak.
Well, say it's a minute. I have no idea. But the point is that you can Google it. And I thought, you know what? We're departing. They will take the Union Jack, the Union flag, off the flagpole tomorrow. Stick it in the museum in Brussels, and they're all making up their eulogies and God knows what. I think it's bloody funny.
Here we go. This is it. There you go. That's it. Oh, hold on. This is it in the background. I'll get out of the way, and we'll have a quick listen to old Farage's final speech in I don't know where they were today. Brussels, Strasbourg, Beijing, wherever they hang out these days. This is just about 30 seconds. 30 seconds of Farage's last hurrah.
America and elsewhere. It is globalism against populism. And you may loathe populism, but I tell you a funny thing, it's becoming very popular. And it has great benefits. No more financial contributions, no more European Court of Justice, no more common fisheries policy, no more being talked down to, no more being bullied, no more Guy Verhofstadt. I mean, what's not to like? I know you're going to miss us. I know you want to ban our national flags, but we're going to wave you goodbye. And we'll look forward in the future to working with you as sovereign.
If you disobey the rules, you get cut off.
If you disobey the rules, she's a nightmare. That woman, that Irish woman, she really annoys me. She always comes on. They always put her on Question Time, don't they? The BBC love that Irish bloody moron. And bring her in, whoever her name is.
In a slightly different context, you can imagine. If you disobey, you hear this from your wife. If you disobey the rules, you get cut off, and you think, "Oh bloody hell!" There have been a couple of instances of that recently in Singapore, India. Mostly happens in the Far East, but don't disobey the rules. But I thought Farage was absolutely brilliant, some of the questions that he took, which were not on tape, but were reported in the press, is about the payoff. And the prospect of no deal, and what happens to the 39 billion that Theresa moron had negotiated, and it reminds me of a joke. I think I might have sent you, Ollie and Piers, the one about the guy who goes on to Dragon's Den.
I hope this is better than the last one, because the last one nearly got us banned from YouTube. Carry on.
No. So bloke goes on to Dragon's Den, and he pulls out of his bag a rusty old shotgun, and he says, "This is my grandfather's shotgun." And Peter Jones says, "Yeah, so what's the business idea?" So the guy goes, It's a very simple concept, Peter. Put your fucking money in the bag." It's one of those. The idea that the Dragon's Den of the EU should hold us to ransom, or rather vice versa. You think you've got a gun at loaded at our heads? It's like, stuff you. The German unions are absolutely up in arms against Merkel for standing against Britain. in respect of a trade deal, any threat to a trade deal.
Hold on a minute. Let's do Merkel. Let's do a bit of Merkel. Oh yeah. Hello. Welcome to the New World Order. Yeah. Sorry.
Actually, slightly disrespectful on the. Well,
What? What? Go on. That was quite funny. At least you didn't swear, mate. Go on, brothers. Crying out loud.
Yeah, well, we are speaking on behalf of the German nation from Berlin, and we decided that the Englanders should have a good trade deal with our German unions for the machination of automobiles, blah, blah, blah. Because they're the most selfish, corrupt race in Europe. No two ways about it.
Who?
The crowds.
Why?
You know what? I used to employ 3,000.
Why do you say that? I mean, there's corruption everywhere. Look at our government, for crying out loud. And the last one. And the last parliament, for God's sake. Probably all bought by Soros.
Olly, you know what? I would sooner deal with a Romanian gangster. And funnily enough, I met a couple of them when I was in prison in Nuremberg than I would do with my German employees. I used to employ 3,000 of the bastards. And, when I had to fire 400 of them, they tried to set me on fire. No joke, it was reported in local press. It's like, all right, well, it's all in a day's work.
Right.
But
okay, we're getting off topic. What? So basically, this is the deal. Bubs, do we get Brexit on, should we all be partying and having a beer on Friday?
We've lost Kate. She's gone to check on her charger.
Oh, right.
Temporarily stepped out of the fray. I mean, let's face it, leaving on Friday will mean nothing really in the sense of real change. But
I disagree.
We then have months of hardcore negotiations. I mean, obviously, Boris's trustworthiness has been brought into question with the whole highway issue. Obviously, a lot of palms were greased, and that's why he's got his hands tied. There are all sorts of arguments you can make about that. I mean, it does seem that spying is sort of ubiquitous now anyway, and will it really make any bloody difference? But then again, I think you said yourself, Olly, that I think the highway were large donors to the Tory party. So it does seem that
yeah, that's right. Yeah, they are Tory donors. Tory donors. Now, just get that in your whatnot. That basically means that Boris traded national security for fascism.
Olly, hold it right there.
Hold on. Okay, go on. You two, carry on. Argue it out. I do not see what Brexit has to do whatsoever with Friday. Continue.
Hang on a sec.
You two, please.
Let's do.
Put me right.
Hang on a sec. The 5G issue, and I called them who are we. It was Theresa May who negotiated the deal with the Chinese, not Boris Johnson. He's inherited.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have to go with it, did he? Didn't have to accept it.
Olly, hang on a sec. If you want international trade agreements, you start breaking them at the outset from a previous Tory government, you're in big trouble. So you can't play fast and footloose. And don't forget that who are we?
What are you talking about? I don't give a damn what the situation was 5 minutes ago. We got a new administration now. The bottom line is that is a commie dictatorship that can't even control their own bloody corona beer virus. And we should not be allowing them to do man-in-the-middle attacks on our network.
Rant alert. First of all, who are we? In actual fact, we're major subcontractors for the 4G network. So they've been embedded in the UK for a long time. Okay, that's a fact.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
No, hang on a sec. And as soon as you start breaking up international trade agreements, we'll be treated like a third world bloody country who cannot be relied upon.
What about
Okay,
getting a
but-
trade deal
wait,
with the
wait.
States?
Let Kate get a word in edgeways.
So it's similar to how we've got the Spanish building ships for our navy, and we have foreign countries building
And the
things
French.
that are going to be used in our defense industry. You know, when you have a nation that openly spies on its own people. I mean, in certain cities, they've even come up with a point system. They spy on them to the degree that they give them a good citizen point system, and they can't fly, they can't travel, they can't work if their point system is that low. And they get you to abide by ridiculous rules, really, really strict rules. So, yeah, it is a concern. But, you know, China isn't your major concern with that. I mean, 2016, you had the Investigatory Powers Act that was signed, which basically gives the permission to spy on you, whether you're suspected of a crime or terrorism or anything. They can just spy on you as and when they want for political purposes. We signed an agreement the end of last year, I believe. I think Priti Patel did with the American government. I can't remember what the agreement's called, but that allows them to use WhatsApp and Facebook and other things, and they can actually now go through your messenger, because there was a thing in the courts where police had applied to access these records, and they were refused. But now there is international agreements. I mean, you talk about Five Eyes, and there is, you know, there's now multiple eyes. There are so many security agreements, and then there's security agreements with the EU. So our government shares our personal data with foreign nations for multiple different purposes. I mean, it'll be packaged as something a lot less, insidious than what it really is. But, you know, information is power, and data these days. I mean, what I think is most dangerous is predictability behavioral modeling. Once you understand how people work, you can then manipulate their behaviors.
Well,
Kate,
I've got a question. Hang on, sorry, Kate. I've got a question for you. How do you feel? I mean, the UK has more CCTV coverage than any, with the exception of Monaco, than any other country in the EU.
Monaco, really? Oh, the casinos.
The majority of them private cameras owned by citizens, you know, owners of businesses, people protecting their property more than government installed cameras.
Hold on, one at a time. Go on, Rod.
And I was going to say, what's your view on facial recognition cameras? So we've got cameras that are set up to capture your registration plate, know if you've got insurance or not, etc., or you're speeding. How about facial recognition, which is, and there's a pilot. Go on.
Now there is a saying. I should be able to remember it properly, but for some reason I can't.
Let me just say quickly. We've got 3 minutes.
To give up freedom for false securities are deserving of neither. I think that's how it goes. So, you know, as much as because of our, let's say, some of our policies that have allowed criminals and terrorism and certain ideologies to become a major threat to us on our own soil, that, you know, more security measures are occasionally needed. But if we weren't being so soft in the first place and letting these people just roam around in public when we know they're a danger, like Salman Abedi, like the guy that attacked people on London Bridge, known terrorists, that we walk around and our security services have even admitted they do not have the resources to monitor these people. So we just leave the public at risk. So yes, in those sort of circumstances, they could be beneficial for tracking these people down. However, I believe that they will be misused, as many laws, as many powers are. And, you know, people will always be in favor of things when they're fearful. When they're scared, they will agree to their liberties being taken away. Yes. But like I said, false securities. And maybe they're not false securities, but you've always got to consider what you're giving away. So facial recognition systems being installed in, let's say, I've heard about them being installed in street lamps and secretly. I mean, we've had facial recognition systems in banks and, you know, for security purposes for a while, but the technology's got a lot better. I don't know whether it's an invasion of privacy or whether it's, you know, a benefit to public safety. If they're only in areas, let's say if they have them around Parliament, because Parliament and certain areas of London and Manchester and major cities are at a higher risk of terrorism, let's say. If they were only on certain public streets, maybe I could agree to them. But I think they'll just be rolled out widespread and they will be abused. So, you always have to question it. And like I say, the saying goes down to
listen, Bubs, we've got about 1 minute left. Piers. Piers.
I've got a second.
No, Rod, hold on. Piers, what's your take on this, mate? Just trying to get everybody's.
I think Kate talks a lot of sense. The technology is highly advanced now. It's interesting that it could have been used as a means to avoid a hard border with Ireland. They have the technology, but they refuse. They're saying they're not going to use it. But they have the technology where everybody walking through customs. The Irish didn't want to be passported. They didn't want anything changed. They wouldn't need anything to change. But technology to be able to work out who everybody going through customs is without checking their passports anyway. So yes, it is a highly technologically advanced piece of tech that probably will be abused, as Kate suggests.
Right, look, guys, hold on. I've got to close. We've got about 30 seconds. I just want to ask you. Hold on, just bear with me. Well, look, you know what? It's that time of day. That's our slot. It's done. But I wanted. This is the first time that we've done this new format together for Daily Chaos. New edition is the four of us basically. And what do you reckon? What do you reckon, Bubs?
It seems to work, doesn't it? You've got people, we've all got similar opinions, but we all look at things from a different perspective, either an analytical or a conspiratorial or a factual, or maybe from a more comical or sort of point of view. And I think the mix of the four of us works quite well. Can I ask a question before we have to go? What is everybody doing on the 31st? Who's coming to London? Obviously, Ollie, you'll be not coming, but
well, no, because it's premature. I'll be celebrating in December.
We're celebrating progress.
I've got two questions. I've got two questions for Kate. Kate, I've got two questions for you. First of all, can you join us for drinks at Belgrave Mews South, just behind Parliament Square?
Ollie and I went before Christmas. It's great.
Okay.
I twisted my ankle, and after having a few bevies with these two, and ended up Christmas Day having a bloody X-ray.
And Kate, the second question is: when can we expect to see your nomination either as an MP in the House of Commons or see in the House of Lords?
Oh, I really hope I don't end up a politician. If needs be, I might end up putting myself forward. But I see myself as more of a strategist, somebody that helps behind the scenes and helps to create good politicians. Hopefully, that'll have the right sort of mindset and help them to get elected. Because I don't like the lack of job security that if the government does badly, that I might lose my job after 4 years. That doesn't suit me. And also in our current format, I would like to represent the people, not abide by.
Quite right, not George bloody Soros. Piers, what did you reckon? What did you reckon to tonight, mate? This new format.
Well, we have the four of us been on the radio before, and I think
not together. All of us together.
Yeah, we have.
Have we? Have we?
That's probably the reason why you wanted to do it again. I mean, I think we do fire off each other.
I think we have done this before.
Right. Well, look. Next.
I think it does. There's enough diversity in terms of the sort of train of thought or rest of it that brings it interesting ideas and I think we're quite good at just thinking off the cuff together. So yeah, I'm certainly up for doing it again.
You know what? I'm just going to do another outro. Just hold on. Do another outro, because then we can have a bit. There you go. Look, I'm sorry, Wake Up UK. We're running over by 2-3 minutes tonight. I know that there is that flexibility, Jason. God bless you, mate. Right. So next Wednesday, are you guys on for this thing?
I should be. Yeah.
Ask us over the weekend.
All right. Okay. See how you do. All right. Look, I want to say a big cheers to everybody who's been in the comments, having a chat, and who's had the patience to stick with Daily Chaos over the last few weeks, which has been an absolute technical bloody nightmare. And hands up, yes, entirely my fault. I apologise.
Well, done, guys. At least it's been worked out now. There didn't seem to be any glitches, no technical issues. My phone stayed charged, which is great. We no longer have sound looping over each other.
Yeah, that's right. My cans, my little baby bud things broke, so I wore these. But apart from that, everything worked tonight. Piers?
Ollie, do the Megan phase. It's all over the
I'm not doing that, man. That's just not on. It's like, you know, I'll tell you what though, she was chilly that day. Do you know what I mean? It was a chilly beach. Look, you know what? Yeah, we are. We're going. We're going. Right, that's it. God bless you. Cheers. Here's to us.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, my fellow chaositeers. That's what I'll call you, because you can't be Brexiteers after we actually leave. We'll have to come up with a new term. And this is the Daily Chaos.
Here's to the
Chaositeers.
Piers,
Anyway,
you didn't answer that question, Piers. Piers, very briefly, mate. You've got 10 seconds. Because you didn't answer that question. Do you think that we get Brexit on Friday?
Well, not entirely, but we've still got it potentially in the bag. Yeah, it depends on what Boris does in the next few months.
Can we trust him? Can we trust him after Highway?
I do think Rodders has a point. Boris does have his hands tied on a lot of stuff, so he's between a rock and a hard place on a lot of issues. But I think ultimately, if he wants a decent legacy, he's going to have to come good.
Right. God bless you. Have a good night. Cheerio. That's it. See you next Wednesday. 9 o'clock. GMT. Hey? Right. Bye.
Bye.